Brent, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you. I'm excited to talk about Lord of Misrule. I really enjoyed this movie, and I was especially blown away at how effectively you've created this whole atmosphere. And we're Halloween Daily, where every day is Halloween. We love our Halloween movies, and while it's maybe not technically a Halloween movie, it is in a lot of ways. It's a
Oh
harvest
yeah.
movie, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
got such autumn flavor and a lot of the traditions we kind of associate with the origins of Halloween, and this town has kind of got some similar traditions. So I guess I'd start there and ask how much of that was part of the conversation of like the ancient Halloween influencing this town's traditions of harvest.
In a way, it's funny because in the UK, they don't celebrate it like as much as we do in the States. But initially, the story was set in the summer when I first read the script. But for me, I was really drawn to autumn and
Yeah.
the colors of autumn. And it's those are my favorite colors and my favorite mood. And Halloween is kind of my favorite time of the year. And so it was making it a harvest festival, autumnal artist harvest festival was really important to me. And so the mythology of it, Tom DeVille wrote the script and he created most of that mythology of the town. But there's a lot that kind of the story that we didn't tell that do, draw to the origins of what Hallows Eve and all that stuff is for sure. Um, and we were even joking about like a sister movie that was called, I forgot the word, but it's the Celtic word for Halloween, which I think is like Sallow or something like that.
Oh, Samhain. Yeah.
Yes, and that's such a fascinating. It feels like an offshoot of what this story is, right? In a way, to me,
Oh,
it could be.
definitely.
And so, and then just that whole those festivals, they have variations of what they're like, but they all happen in the UK, and so the people there are kind of used to it. Then um they're used to growing up around these things, and so I kind of leaned into the darkest version in a way with the fire and
Yeah.
um but just the costumes and everything, being able to create that kind of autumn um harvest festival. I mean, just everything about it, even the little girl's wings,
Yeah.
making them hay, and it's just every little detail. And I even when I her crown, the masks they had, it's it was so that kind of stuff's so fun for me. And it was like a kid in a candy store to be like, how can we create something kind of fresh and interesting in a world that kind of has existed for thousands of years, really, since like Roman times to some degree. And so that was really fun.
Well, I'd say that's probably my favorite part. It is that how you brought in all these costumes and these great masks that obviously these aren't, Spirit Halloween purchases. You had to, create all of this stuff and it had to fit the town and still be creepy, but make sense for the story. And I love that. And like you said, you're drawing from the past, but it did feel fresh in a lot of ways. Like we don't see, we see Halloween and we see autumn, but this was like just such a um, immersive environment, and I just loved it right from the get go. And but can you talk a little bit about that while we've got you about the
Yeah.
masks in particular? Because there's so many good ones in there. Obviously, a lot of them featured throughout. Can you talk a little bit about creating those?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that was one of the first things that excited me about the project because I love puppets and dolls and masks and usually, I get to kind of maybe create kind of one for every movie. And then as soon as I'm reading the script, I was like, oh, this is like all these other ideas I've never been able to kind of follow through with. I get to follow through with on this movie. And especially Lord of Misrule's mask, which was like a hero mask.
Yeah.
And so it was not trying to buy some, purchase something or create something that we'd seen before, but try to create something. I mean, it's the fun of making movies is you get to create things that live on forever. And so it's like, what can we do that's different, and it led to the Libby Irwin, our costume designer, who had this amazing concept artist who was kind of like a sketch artist, like a police sketch artist. And so I would just sit with her for hours and, to try to kind of figure out how we wanted this to look. And over the course of many days. And at the time it wasn't in the budget to create something kind of that for that particular mask that specific. It was kind of a helmet it became, kind of like from the movie Excalibur. Um, Mordred's half mask. I loved that idea
Mhm.
where we still see Ralph talking, see his eyes, but there's still a mask. And it was just incredible artisan work by the people in the UK creating this amazing looking, mask. And it was like that with everything. It was, the symbology in the books, and it was, creating everything from scratch was it just became very exciting for everybody. And, doing that festival, which was the last thing we shot, gave everybody time to create all these looks. And sometimes that's the sad thing about making a movie is creating amazing sets and you're like, wow, we were in it for 30 seconds, and yet it took us weeks to create some. And so that festival was one of those things to where, and of course it carried on through to the different parts of the story with different masks and different outfits. It was so rewarding, I guess, that everybody had enough time to create all these amazing looks and masks.
Well, that's like I said, that's absolutely a highlight for me. And yeah, that festival was just amazing. It was like I want to go to that harvest festival. Like that's like the ultimate harvest festival that you could possibly imagine. I feel like.
I hear you. I agree. Um, yeah, I'd love to see it again. I'd love to do it again.
And while we've got you for just a minute, if you'll indulge us, we always try to ask a little bit about what Halloween means to you. Obviously, you said you love autumn and the autumn colors, and I do too, and I love that. And we're in it right now in November as we're recording this, and those colors are everywhere. So can you tell us a little bit? Do you have fond memories celebrating Halloween? Do you celebrate now as an adult and look forward to it?
Yeah, Halloween it's been so exciting because like growing up, Halloween was my favorite movie, but um, trick-or-treating was like the coolest thing. And then a little bit later it became weird, right? And people were
Mhm.
going just to malls and stuff, and it wasn't quite the familial like community trick-or-treating that it was when I was a
Yeah.
kid. But then what I've noticed now that like we've all grown up and most people have had kids is Halloween isn't just the kids. Now, when I was a kid, my parents would walk and they might be drinking a beer on the street. Who knows what they were doing? But now, the parents dress up with the kids.
Yeah.
And to me, that's so cool. And just seeing how Halloween has exploded in Rite Aid and Halloween Horror Nights. My family was in town a couple weeks ago for a screening of this, and I took them all to, Universal Halloween Horror Nights. And it's just bonkers, like how huge like that is, how
Yeah.
massive. And so, and I realize like with horror movies, it's always a battle to kind of like not think that horror movies are just a fad, It's like, no, they're not going anywhere. And what I realized recently is, and I think people have finally started to realize that it's not like horror is back every 6 months. It's always here.
Yeah.
But is I think it's as much Halloween as it is horror because it's Halloween, haunted houses, immersive theater, and movies and TV. It's all just an extension of Halloween in a way to me. And so I think that's why it's like, yeah, that's why horror movies aren't going anywhere because people, it's the second biggest you know, um, uh, celebration of the year. But
Yeah.
and I'm seeing it like expand everywhere. Anyway, and even in my neighborhood, I had one of those 13-foot tall Jack Skellington,
Yeah.
things. And I've lived in this house for like 5 years and I've never seen anybody really put stuff up. And I'd been gone, like I was filming that movie. And so I put him up this year. And then I just noticed all the houses around started putting stuff up, and like Christmas.
Yeah.
But and I hadn't noticed them do that in the past. So anyway, I don't have to tell you. It's I love it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we love to hear that. And last question before we go, favorite Halloween costume and favorite Halloween candy. I guess that's
Like
last two
costume I
questions.
wore.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I guess my favorite was I dressed up like a member, I like Peter Criss from Kiss, and my dad painted and created this whole outfit, and that wasn't his thing, but he
That's
was
awesome.
really good at it, and it looked amazing. And then I met Gene Simmons years later, and it was like, and it was so fun, like reminiscing about that. And I gotta tell you, like Halloween candy, and I noticed it this Halloween, like candy corn. I just kept. I mean, it's the most simple Halloween candy, or the most
Mhm.
kind of like classic almost.
Yeah.
And we were kind of trick or treating, and I just kept going, I kept eating that, and so I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much I miss this candy every year. So probably that, I guess.
Very cool. Well, it is a classic. You can't go wrong with that. Absolutely. Well, I think you've given us a new Harvest Time classic for sure, and it works as a Halloween movie, and it works as a post Halloween movie too. It's awesome. So I definitely recommend it, and I can't thank you enough for taking this time. And we never like to say goodbye, so instead, since every day's Halloween, I'm just going to say Happy Halloween,
Happy Halloween. Yeah.
and I guess Happy Harvest too.
Yeah. Yeah. Beware the harvest. Great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.